The human need of significance. It means that we're trying to gain our identity. We're trying to gain self-respect. We're trying to gain a good opinion of ourselves. It's separate from trying to gain significance in other people's opinions, trying to impress other people or to get famous or to get approval or to get... It's the opposite of that. It's to get our own approval, to meet our own standards. It's self-control, developing our own skills, developing our own passion, motivating ourselves from within instead of other people motivating us from outside. It's being able to look at ourselves and say, you know what, I'm awesome because I say so. I'm living up to my own standards, and that's good enough. That's good enough for me. And that's a basic human need. We all need to feel significant from the inside out. Without other people telling us that we're important, without other people being involved at all. Just, it's coming from within. We feel significant. We feel worthy. So now the fear there is being generic, being a bandwagon follower. The fear is hating ourselves, having low standards. You're a loser, unmotivated, useless, feeling dead inside, feeling like a doormat, like you're just a slave to whatever anybody else wants you to do, everybody else's opinions of you. That's the fear. So the solution to that fear is to run towards building up your own significance from within. And then, of course, there's a danger of going too far in that direction, but we'll talk about that last. So how do we actually do significance? How do we build up our own significance? Well, there are two different ways and two different styles of each way. Two kind of categories of verbs are what objective personality calls sleep and consume. And those two words are wrong and bad and confusing. So don't really worry about the words sleep and consume. Think of it more as a combination of needs. You can't just go straight at significance itself. You have to kind of get there in a roundabout way. So there are two ways to do it. You can combine your significance with certainty or your significance with variety. So if you combine certainty and significance, that's what objective personality calls sleep. And that is the double introverted style. That's where you're building things for yourself. You're growing your own significance through control, through certainty, through building up something that's important to you over time. So we've got the classic, model train guy. So imagine being the model train guy. He's focused on something certain. He's building up something for himself over time, but he's also building up his own feeling of self-worth. It's like, okay, so imagine I'm the model train guy. I'm thinking, I feel significant, I feel worthy, I feel important, I feel unique because I've built up this thing for myself over time. That convinces me that I'm good enough. And then Eminem over here, he's built up his songs, his rhymes, his combinations of words, his stuff that he does. He built that up for himself over time. He doesn't need anybody else's approval. I mean, he goes and gets it anyway, because, that's the whole point of doing this, is to share it with other people. But he's convinced himself that he's good enough. He doesn't need anybody else's approval, anybody else's validation. He has his own. And then we got this guy here, Casey. He's built up his own systems. He's organized things for himself. And because of that, he feels significant. He's validated himself that he's good enough. He's ready to do anything. And he proves it day in and day out by delivering results in reality. How is he able to deliver results in reality so consistently? Because he's built himself up. He has enough built up that he can share. He's good enough in his own opinion that he feels worthy enough of people's attention that he's going to share from himself every single day. He's not desperately running towards approval. He's coming from a place of of abundance of value, and he's sharing it out to other people. And then, what's his name? Star Wars guy. He was building up something over time that was important, but at the same time, building up his own feeling of self-worth. And then Tony Hawk also. Super focused on delivering results in reality, building up his own skills, but also building up his own feeling of self-worth, that he's good enough because he says so, because he's chipped away at it, he's worked at it over time for years, and he's built up that skill for himself. But how do you build yourself through variety? Significance and variety combined is what objective personality calls consume. Again, a terrible word, but it's the best we've got, so let's go with it. So you can think about that, consuming physical items like Kim Kardashian. There's nothing wrong with that. Consuming information, consuming things, new variety for yourself. That is what consume means. And you can do it in two ways. One, to seek and run after variety for the sake of variety, and you just happen to build some significance. Or exploring to build up your own significance, to build up your own feelings of self-worth and self-value, that I'm good enough because I've learned all these things, I've mastered all these skills in my mind. I haven't built anything with them, but I've built potential. Exploring gives you more options. Exploring more and more conceptual options, or exploring more and more physical options. But it's expanding out from what you currently have to a new state where you have more options, where you have more possibilities for yourself. You feel that significance, value in reality from your own opinion because you have options and you've built that for yourself. The danger, though, what's the danger of focusing too much on significance? Of course, the opposite. The danger of focusing on one thing is that you don't focus on the opposite thing. So if you're focusing on your own significance, you're ignoring connecting with other people. And if you're focused too much on connecting with other people, you're ignoring your own significance. You have to balance the two to be balanced and healthy. So what's the danger? What's the danger of ignoring connection and focusing on yourself? Is ending up with the vibe of I know I'm awesome. I proved it to myself time and time again, but why isn't anybody on board? Why doesn't anybody care? I'm awesome. I know I'm awesome, but where is everybody? What can end up happening is that you have no impact in reality. Aside from your little model train set that you have in your garage that you've never let anybody see, or your book that you've been working on for years and never let anybody read. Okay, maybe you've got that, or maybe you've learned every language there is in the world, but if you don't go out and use that for anything, if you don't make connections with that, if you're not giving what you've grown, then you're not going to have any impact in the world. And that can result in a feeling of me against the world. It's me versus everybody. Everybody's out to get me. Nobody cares about what I'm doing. I've got to show all of them and take my stuff and go home. So you can feel really defensive. You can feel selfish. People can think of you as being too good for them. It's we never invite this guy out because he's too good for us. He's always busy doing his own thing. He doesn't care about us, so forget him. And then from you, it was I've been building up all this stuff because I want to share it. I want to inspire people. Why don't they care? Why don't they ever invite me out? Why are they constantly excluding me? You're excluding yourself. That's why. You got to balance. Also, if you're focusing too much on yourself, you can become a black hole where you're constantly taking things in but never sharing anything out. And that can result in a feeling of being abandoned. So that's the danger of focusing too much on your own significance. Next time, we'll talk about how the connection-obsessed people try to get significance. This is my struggle. Next time on AoP.